It's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, September 6, 2022. I call the special meeting and workshop of the King's Independent School District to order. We'll have roll call. John Morales. Here. Martine Chapman. David Garcia. Elizabeth Ramos.
Here.
James Lucing. Here. Thelma Salinas.
Here.
Brian Kufal. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present, and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with Government Code Chapter 551, State of Texas Open Meetings Act. We move now to the moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to the Texas state under God, one indivisible.
This meeting includes live videos streamed at https://bit/ly/3SROQR. This item number 4, which is adoption of the agenda. Ms. Ramos, do you have a suggestion on the reorganization?
Yes, Mr. President, I propose that we move item C, new business, to executive session for a moment and then bring it back to open session. Some topics on there, I'm not sure that should be discussed in open session.
All right. We have a proposal that the agenda be adopted with the following amendment. We will address item A, B, D. Go into closed session for item C. Return from closed session for further possible action on item C. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. President.
There's a motion to that effect. Is there a second? Motion made by Ms. Ronald, seconded by Ms. Salinas. All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. We move now to item number 5, public participation. Do we have anyone who signed up to address the board?
No public participation at this time.
Thank you. Item number 6, new business. A, discussion and possible action regarding change orders for roofing projects. This can be found on page 3 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. Currently, we are at the stage in the roofing project where the engineer has examined the site and the engineer has recommended some changes. Mainly, they've recommended a higher gauge metal to comply with Texas windstorm and to make the building basically to increase the strength of the building. And this was a pretty hefty one. It was a $28,000 increase. Currently, all change orders come to the board. And right now, we're at a delay. We cannot order any materials at all. We can't move to the next step until this change order is approved by the board. What we're suggesting is that the board delegate authority to make change orders to the superintendent. Currently, when I was putting this together, I put $25,000. Of course, then the first change order came in at $28,000. Thank you. I did ask what other possible change orders might need to be done. The only other possible change orders they said would be purlins. They could be $5,000 to $10,000 depending on what is rusted. They would need to be replaced. We did build into the RFP the cost for the any of these extra change orders that would need to be done so that we wouldn't be hit with a high price if we ended up with materials that were rusted on the inside and needed to be replaced. Again, the reason for the change orders is anything that needs to be done that is not in the original specifications. The contractors, they all bid on the same set of specifications so that it can be a equal playing field. But then in the course of the project, there are other things that may not be evident once they open the roof up and take a look at it. So the first thing that came across is the gauge of metal that's needed. Once they took off their fire retardant, they noticed that there was a higher gauge metal underneath, and they're going to need to use a higher gauge metal to make sure again that we comply with Texas windstorm. I'll take any questions, and if there's something else I can't answer, I also have the roofing contractor that I can get information from as well.
What building is this?
This is the maintenance shop roof. So the one that we brought here, so what normally would happen is every time something needs to be changed, to be brought to the board for approval. But in this case, I would recommend that we delegate that authority to the superintendent for this roofing project up to $49,000. I had originally put 25,000, but again, there's new information that's come about since then.
What is the name of the engineer who approved this other roofing?
The new roofing?
Well, he said we have to go to a higher gauge of metal.
Yes.
Well, we've already had somebody come and look at it and said we need a lower gauge of metal, it would have been $28,000 less.
Right.
So who was it that made this decision?
So that is the roofing contract, the engineer that was hired by the roofing consultant, I'm sorry, not the roofing consultant, the roofing contractor that we decided to procure. But I did again meet with our roofing consultant that doesn't have any bias at all in the project, and he verified that it is legitimate. I can get him on the line if we need to.
Well, what is the cost of materials for these other companies? See, now we're suddenly changing significantly by $28,000, we're changing. Or 49,000, we're changing the bid of what everybody's bid on. So,
I hear what you're saying, but it was everybody bid on the same gauge of metal. And everybody put in what the additional cost would be.
well, I understand that, but in the construction industry, getting a change order,
Yes.
you don't have to take it and justify your change in the price, so you can charge any amount that you want for a change order. So change orders are wonderful, they're gold. If I, right, to some extent.
To some extent, and I had this conversation earlier today with Dr. Pitts, because if I recall, the way this all kind of started back, we had roofing problems at a couple of campuses, and the gentleman came and gave a presentation that kind of guaranteed the roof, and they said they're gonna do some stuff, and that will help extend the warranty, but then they would give us a whole list of what needed to be done to keep them. And we hired this guy as kind of our general roofing consultant, I believe. And my question to Dr. Pitts this morning was, had he been involved in this conversation also? And he has been, and it said that this does not appear to be unreasonable. I hear you. The assumption on the, to give credence to the person who's doing the bidding, you would assume that everybody would bid kind of the same amount on a higher grade of materials. That's the Pollyanna view. The other side is, you're right, there could be. And so without somebody independently looking to make sure that that specific change order, there should be no additional labor, there should be no additional anything other than the raw price of that material. I'm not qualified to make that determination. And that's why I asked if there had been others that looked at this.
Well, and I understand that, But also, what I'm trying to figure out is, if their engineer said we need one kind of metal. And that's what we put in to have it bid. How come it's suddenly changing?
Well, that's a question that I can, again, the roofing contractor is available. I can get them on the line and, he's willing to answer.
The initial answer that, this morning was that. I think once they actually stripped out the fire retardant or whatever it was, it was determined that. What was there wasn't what I think everyone thought was there.
I would just hope that we have these future roofing projects still going on, they're ongoing. And, we're, some of us are smarter than the average bear up here, so I don't think that our contractors should be getting comfortable on the constant change order thing. Let's not make it a habit. So we'll just see that one.
Dr. Pitts, is this a code, city code thing that we're looking at? I mean, the reason why they're going with a higher gauge of
Yeah,
metal? Or what?
It's Texas windstorm, and again, I'm not an expert on that, but I can call the expert.
So why wasn't that even considered at the very beginning when they submitted the bid? You see what I'm saying? If this was something that was required by TWIA, that should have been something that we should have known about from the very beginning. Now, my concern is, Bettis, at the beginning of school, we had leakage, didn't we? I want to focus on that. I'd rather focus on a roof like that. Don't get me wrong, I believe that we do need a maintenance facility to be, relooked at, but we've got to make sure $49,000, that's, and then if you look, it's right under the 50,000 procurement level, at least, like, let's charge 49.5.
Well, 49 right now it's 28. 49,000 was my recommendation because we can't go over 50,000. So that just allowed us some additional leeway. Right now it's 28,000 for the higher gauge metal, and then it would be approximately 5,000 to 10,000 more based on the number of purlins that need to be replaced once they open up the roof. And again, they bid on, every contractor bid on how much they would charge per linear foot, and this one was also cheaper on those costs as well too.
But they bid it on the wrong type of gauge of metal, which
That's
should have been
correct.
known.
All three of them.
Again, all three of them
Yes.
bid it on the type of metal the gauge of metal that is now what's required by city code.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Kufal, what happens if we, as a board, just hypothetically, what do we go back to RFP if we all vote no, or what's the situation?
Yes. Yes. This does not fall under. CH local, which we discussed last, this isn't an item of authorizing a purchase because the contract itself specified that the approval process is what specified that all change orders would require board approval. Is that correct?
Mr. Max?
It typically is. Also, the contract's held by the board, but by you all. So if this was like a standalone item that the administration needed, they could go spend it for 25K or whatever her authority is. But this is a vendor contract directly with you all. So if the administration wouldn't go in and make changes to that agreement without bringing it to the board.
And so if we were to say no, what would happen is a couple things. A, they would either proceed with the job at the lower grade of.
Well, I don't know if they could because we might not be complying with Texas windstorm.
All right, but has there been an insurance company involved in it? I mean, are we sure that TWIA is requiring this higher grade? And that's what the cause, if that's the cause that is actually being required by TWIA. If we don't trust this contractor necessarily, then yes, we'd have to go back and start all over with those. It would not be unusual for an engineer to miss that depending on where they came from, especially if it's somebody out of Dallas or one of those, because they don't have the same coastal requirements that we have.
Can we call them?
That, I would recommend that he's available right now. I've been texting, so.
And I don't think there's any board question about whether it's necessary or not. I think we're all in agreement that it probably is necessary. The question is, why does this just now come up?
Right, that's what I know, why didn't they do it? Why did all three of us bid on that?
Well, let me call him and we'll get some answers.
And the consultant, the rookie consultant should know, right? Should have known.
Hey, Mike, Peter. Okay, if it's all right with you, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone and on microphone because the board has a few questions. Thanks. This is Mike Trujillo. He is our consultant he is with Garland, but again, we do not pay a fee for his services. They had a couple of questions. Do you want to start, Mr. Garcia, with your question about?
Mr. Trujillo, David Garcia, just a quick question, if this was something that was already mandated or required for TWIA coverage, why was it not part of the RFP at the very beginning by when all the contractors submitted their bids? However, the RFP should have specified what we were needing for that coverage, correct?
Okay, so. So the change order covers a higher grade than was already there, or just replaces what was already there?
Correct, it's actually, we're conforming with.
But it is the same grade that was already on a roof to begin with.
Correct, and this is.
Well, this is Jim Blissing, and my question is, if you're doing windstorm calculations, you should know what gauge has to go on the roof, and it should be what you're purchasing it. So I don't understand why it matters what was on there before. if you're redoing the calculations with the right gauge of metal to go back on the roof.
Yes, sir. Well, we based the calculation on a different gauge.
So in this case, beyond the roofing gauge, the metal gauge, we're gonna have to replace all the C purlings because the C purlings aren't what you thought they were either.
That engineer submit a report.
Mike, did that engineer submit the report showing that?
Who's the engineer? Who's the guy?
Who's the engineer, Mike?
So the contractor that received the bid was Garland?
No.
No, it was RGO Roofing.
Thank you.
So are we gonna get anything as far as a copy of something to look at of these changes? I mean, we're talking about it, but I don't have anything in front of me to look
That's a
at.
good point, Mr. McDowell.
You know, it seems like that would have been sent in.
I do have something that I could print out and bring to the board that shows the individual,
Itemized.
itemized line items.
You know, just something that we can go off, because I can hear it, and I hear everything you're saying. Mr. Lucy brought up some good points on that, and
Yes. I could print that out and bring it back after closed session.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the cost difference. I recommend that we delegate authority to superintendent to approve the change orders for roofing projects of 25, or you want me to change that to 28,000 or 49,000?
I would recommend 49,000.
Go 30.
$30,000, and then I'd like to say something, if I did something.
Could you add, and that all change orders approved be reported to the board at the next meeting?
Right. With, okay, so again, sorry, 30, with any changes to be brought forth to the board with the change order, itemized pictures and description.
All right, we've got a motion made by Ms. Ramos, seconded by Mr. Chapa to approve, to authorize the superintendent to approve change orders under this specific roofing contract up to the amount of $30,000, and any such changes made under this authority be reported to the board at their very next meeting.
With the appropriate paperwork.
Board, is that 30,000 aggregate or 30,000 per order? Per order.
This isn't this specific.
All right, any further discussion?
I just want to say that, you know, these things happen. I mean, you know, we're not all perfect, but that's a whole lot of money, and with asking for that amount of money to get absolutely nothing to read or look at or anything prior to meeting it. To me, I feel like our kids went and, you know, did a project and did a homework or assignment, want an A. So they need to come prepared if they want more for whether change record they want to do next. And hopefully this is a little bit of an insight on how I think the board feels about a company getting a large bid for such a huge project. To, you know, we're watching, we're listening, and we don't want to be taken advantage of once you get the bid to do 5, 10, 20 change orders on us.
Any further discussion?
So the consultant, is he still on there?
Yes. Are you still there, Mike?
So are you saying that the 3, I guess, companies that bid on this did not take into consideration TWIA?
No, they didn't, you know, so I'll take responsibility. I did the complete assessment of this group and I tried to fix it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
No.
Motion carries. You know, it's 5-2. All right, item 6B, discussion and possible action regarding, thank you, Mike. Discussion and possible action regarding purchases over 25,000. This can be found on page 4 of our packet, Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. We have 2 instructional purchases over $25,000. One is for Achieve 3000. You see approximate cost $43,000 there, and then the McGraw Hill Wanderers, $38,000. I'll take any questions that you have.
All right, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Romo, seconded by Ms. Salinas. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposition? Motion carries 7-0. We're gonna skip item C, pending to close item D, discussion and possible action regarding dual enrollment MOU between Texas A&M University Kingsville and Kingsville ISD for the 2022-2023 school year. It's gonna be found on page 15 of our package. Dr. Solomon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Dr. Pettis, Board of Trustees. The MOU before you, we brought the MOU between CBC to you last month, both for dual credit and for early college high school. Today we bring the MOU for Temuk. A lot of the same expectations, criteria to get into early college high school, take dual credit are similar to what we do for our CBC students. The only differences are taking courses at Temuk. Some of our kids prefer the Temuk campus over CBC, and we're trying to get more of our students to start taking more courses at CBC at Temuk, just because some of our kids are moving down that academic pipeline versus the career-driven field. So in front of you got the MOU. It's very similar to what we offer for CBC. This one, we do have a lot of courses that the students can take, their academic courses. If you look at the courses that they're able to take, you're looking at about 81 different courses that students can take. There are different variety of English courses or psychology courses, but any student that is taking courses at Temuk can still get their associate's degree through the Temuk system. So we feel pretty comfortable with this program, working and building that pipeline back again with Temuk. Our attorneys have reviewed the MOU, and we want to present it to you for approval today. We'll take any questions that you may have.
I have a quick question. Is it normal that this MOU should come so late?
This one last year went, I think, in late September, or early October. So we're actually bringing a little sooner than we had in previous years. But we should be bringing it almost prior to the start of the school year. It only makes sense. But we got this one about 2-3 weeks ago. We needed to run through legal, and then their legal would go back and forth. So that's why we squeezed this agenda instead of waiting to the end of September. So it should be coming to you earlier than that.
So we have let them know that we need this like in late June, early July.
So June, okay.
And it's sometimes, it's most of the time it's not our doing. We work with the University on a contract that was, one of our agreements was over in August and still hasn't come through yet. So it happens,
And the university is going through a lot of change, so.
Yes.
There's
Procurement, the university is going to.
But we're very comfortable with what Temuk has been doing for us. Again, I think about in 2018 was the last group that we had started. We were sending to Temuk. It was like a 2-year, 3-year drop off order where kids weren't going there. So just having that pipeline open again and kids going back and returning to campus at Temuk is a big thing. And we are, just for the record, providing transportation for our kids. We didn't want to be sending them on their own without supervision. So we are picking them up and dropping them off via our transportation system.
And working on the master schedule to get it to where we have the group going in the morning. Morning.
But this won't be for this fall.
It is.
I love that idea.
So
of
these are already
dropping
in
them
class.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just did not get this.
Okay, still got rock and roll history. There you go.
Personally, I applaud y'all for building back the relationship that's been kind of strained.
And it's local and 4-year college and like that.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of administration that the MOU be approved. Is there a motion to that effect? Motion made by Ms. Salinas, seconded by Ms. Ramos. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
I'm staying.
Motion carries 6-0-1. All right. The board will now enter into closed session to discuss items that can be discussed in closed session. We're going to specifically deal with item C on this agenda. Discussion of possible action regarding revisions to board policy DH local and CKC local. There will be no action taken until we return to open session. I don't have the specific authorization of the Secretary of State.
Pursuant to chapter 551-071. The safety of new council.
Done pursuant to section 551.
071.
The Texas Open Meetings Act. At this time, we will go into closed session. And we are entering closed session at 6:07 p.m.